Welcome to Rich Tribe, John here. Today, we are tearing down, literally dismantling, the single biggest lie that is keeping the average person from building real, multi-generational wealth. It's a massive trap. The financial industry absolutely loves it, and it stops millions of us from ever claiming our fair share of the market.
Whoa, that is a massive claim, John. The biggest lie? I mean, most people I talk to aren't investing simply because they think the whole system is rigged, right? Or they think you have to be some Wall Street insider to actually make real money. So are you saying there's a roadblock even bigger than that?
Because let's be totally honest here. When most people think about investing, they picture gambling. They think the only way to strike it rich is by magically predicting the future, finding that next massive tech giant hiding in a barrage somewhere, and just betting their entire life savings on it.
Exactly, Monique. Hit the nail right on the head. And that right there, that is the myth. People genuinely believe that successful investing means you have to constantly analyze the economy, dissect corporate balance sheets, and somehow time the market perfectly to pick that one ultimate winning stock. But guess what? Decades of data, along with the quiet everyday habits of actual self-made millionaires, prove that this is a total trap. The wealthy, we don't play the guessing game. You absolutely do not need to pick winning stocks to get rich. Honestly, trying to outsmart the market is the exact thing keeping the average investor poor.
Let me show you exactly why. Back in 2018, there was this landmark study by a guy named Hendrik Bessemender. He looked at every single US-listed stock from 1926 all the way to 2016. We are talking 90 years of hard market data here.
Okay, color me curious. What did he actually find?
Well, he found something shocking. 57% of all stocks actually returned less over their entire lifetime than a super boring, incredibly safe one-month government treasury bill. I mean, let that sink in for a second. More than half of the individual companies you could possibly throw your money at will lose to a basic run-of-the-mill government bond. So if you are out there trying to pick individual stocks, you really aren't investing. You're just gambling in a casino where the mathematical odds are literally stacked against you.
But here is the real knockout punch. Think about it. If 57% of stocks are total losers, where is all the money actually coming from? Bessembinder found that essentially 100% of the net wealth ever created by the entire stock market came from just 4% of the companies.
Wait. So out of roughly 26,000 companies over 90 years, only about 1,000 of them drove all those massive gains we always associate with the stock market?
Precisely. Just the top 90 stocks alone accounted for more than half of all the wealth ever created. If you're out there picking individual stocks, you're basically searching for a needle in a massive giant haystack. And if you miss that needle, you lose.
Okay, wow, I definitely see the trap now. The urge to get rich quickly pushes beginners right into this speculative, high-risk trading. But John, if stock picking is basically a rigged casino game, what on earth is the alternative? How does an everyday person actually capture the wealth of that top 4% without taking on all that insane risk? It's simple. You stop searching for the needle and you just buy the entire haystack. You have to shift your mindset, right? Stop being a speculator hoping for a winning lottery ticket and become an owner collecting a share of the entire economy. The wealthy, we rely on slow mathematical certainties. And the way we do this? Index funds.
Now, an index fund is just remarkably simple. It's basically a big basket of stocks designed to perfectly mirror a specific market index. The most famous one you've probably heard of is the S&P 500, which holds the 500 largest companies in the United States.
Okay, so instead of me trying to guess which one of those 500 companies is going to be the next superstar, I just buy a single S&P 500 fund and boom, I instantly own a tiny fraction of every single one of them?
Exactly. You completely eliminate that single stock risk. Let's say one company goes bankrupt, it's just a drop in the bucket because you still own 499 others that are thriving. You are basically buying the underlying profits of the greatest American companies all at once. You don't need to be some Wall Street genius. You literally just need to participate in the machine.
To put it in perspective, a real-world, highly rated portfolio is actually incredibly boring. Seriously. It's not filled with flashy tech startups or crazy risky crypto bets. It relies on a super balanced mix, maybe a large blend fund, a mid-cap fund, and some foreign exposure to cover your bases globally.
I gotta say, looking at it, it seems almost too simple. Like there's no way it's that easy.
And that right there is the big secret. Wealthy investors keep things simple. They just set up automatic investments into a diversified portfolio exactly like this, and then they completely ignore the financial news. They aren't out there panic selling when the market drops on a Tuesday. They buy great companies at fair prices, and they let time do all the heavy lifting.
All right, John, I get the mechanism here. Index funds are the vehicle. Makes total sense. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. The average person watching this explainer right now might be thinking, well, that's great for rich people. But I don't have thousands of dollars just lying around to invest. So how does this actually help me? That is a great question.
And it brings us to the true engine of wealth. It's all about compounding. Warren Buffett actually figured this out when he was just 10 years old. He realized that money growing at a constant rate over a long period of time creates a literal explosion of wealth. He compared it to a snowball rolling down a hill, right? You start small, but as it rolls, it gathers mass and speed until it becomes this enormous boulder. You really don't need a massive amount of money to start. You just need a really long hill.
Personal finance expert J.D. Roth actually frames this brilliantly using the concept of opportunity cost. In the U.S., after taxes, every single dollar you spend today represents roughly $2.57 of value in 10 years, or nearly $10 in 30 years if you had just invested it instead.
Wait, are you serious? So if I go out and buy a $5 coffee today, I'm not just spending $5. I am literally robbing my future self of $50 in retirement?
Precisely. That is exactly how you have to look at it. When you truly understand that the opportunity cost of spending $100 today is $10 you could have used to buy your financial freedom later, it completely rewrites how you look at your money. Compounding beautifully marries your present everyday choices to your future wealth.
Okay, hold on though. What if I have debt? Because if compounding works that beautifully for investments, it must be an absolute nightmare when it's applied to credit cards or personal loans. Should someone still be investing if they owe the bank?
Oh, that is a brilliant point, Monique, and it leads us directly to an absolutely crucial rule. You must destroy your high-interest debt before you focus heavily on investing. Look, it is a complete mathematical myth that you should invest while holding bad debt. Think about it. If you have a student loan sitting at, say, 6.2%, and you are hoping to earn maybe 7 or 8% in the market, the risk-adjusted return just makes 0 sense. That compounding interest is working in favor of your lender, which means it is actively melting your wealth snowball. Pay off the bad debt first. That right there is a guaranteed return on your money.
All right, so let's say the bad debt is cleared. Awesome. We know we need to buy index funds, and we know we need to step back and let it compound. But we are still facing the harsh reality of the cost of living. Nearly a third of Americans have $100 or less in their savings account. How does the everyday person actually manufacture the extra cash to get this snowball rolling in the first place?
Well, you have to start treating your household like a business, plain and simple, and take absolute control of your cash flow. Synchrony Bank actually recently outlined several highly practical ways to find this money, and the best part is, it doesn't require a six-figure salary. First off, automate your savings. You got to pay yourself first. Make it a strict, unbreakable rule that capital vanishes into your investment account before you even have a chance to spend it. Second, audit your expenses. Spend just 1 hour negotiating your internet and insurance bills. The savings there can be immediate and significant.
And I'm guessing the everyday, smaller choices matter too, right?
Absolutely they do. Stop paying huge premiums for name brands when the generic version is literally identical. Ruthlessly cut those unused subscriptions. Consumers vastly underestimate what they bleed out every month on services they don't even use. And finally, just resell items you no longer need. I promise you. Finding $50 to $100 a month is entirely within your control if you start acting like the CEO of your own life.
And hey, if you're sitting there thinking that $50 a month just isn't enough to bother with, look at this math. If you invest just $50 a month into a diversified index fund, and we assume a historical average return of around 10%, over 30 years, you personally will have contributed only about $18,000 of your own hard-earned money.
Wow, okay, and what exactly does that turn into once the compounding snowball does its thing?
By year 30, that exact same portfolio would be worth approximately $580,000. Over $500,000, generated from finding just $50 a month. That's literally the cost of a couple of takeout meals. That, my friends, is the absolute power of time and compound interest.
Now, before we reveal the final unbreakable rule to making this entire wealth-building system work permanently, I need you to do something for me. Subscribe to the Rich Tribe channel, like, comment, and share this explainer. We are totally dedicated to bringing you the real financial truths that they just don't teach you in school.
Okay, John, let's address the massive elephant in the room here. What happens when the market crashes? Because look at 2008 or 2020. People panicked. It's super easy to hold an index fund when the line is going up, but when your life savings suddenly drops by 30%, human nature screams at you to sell everything and run for the hills.
Oh, for sure. But listen, that panic is exactly how wealth is transferred from the average investor straight to the rich. Dips, corrections, crashes, they are a guaranteed part of the process. If you sell during a drop, you permanently lock in your losses. Amateurs panic, professionals buy the discount. As Warren Buffett wisely says, the risks of being out of the game are huge compared to the risks of being in it. Did you know the market has hit new all-time highs over 1,200 times since 1950? It literally always recovers. You just must have the emotional discipline to stay in the game.
So, if we distill this whole explainer down to a simple, actionable blueprint for the everyday person to build millionaire-level wealth, it really comes down to 3 unbreakable rules.
All right, rule 1, pay off high-interest debt first, because you simply cannot outinvest a 20% credit card interest rate.
Exactly right. Rule 2, buy a widely diversified index fund, like the S&P 500, so you capture the growth of the whole market without the insane risk of picking single stocks. And finally, Rule 3, hold it forever. Ignore the flashy news, ignore the scary market crashes, and just let compound interest do its miraculous job over the decades.
Look, the biggest myth in investing is that it has to be this complicated, risky thing reserved only for the super elite. The truth? Real wealth is built slowly through consistency, patience, and just unshakable discipline.
So it's really not about timing the market perfectly to find that magical entry point. It is entirely about time in the market.
Precisely. You don't need a fortune to start, but you absolutely do need to start if you want to build a fortune. So the only question left for you today is this. Are you ready to start rolling your snowball?